Okay, here we are. So we're either going to hurt a lot of people's feelings with this one, or we're going to help a lot of people. And there's no in between because a lot of people are just misconstrued and just they were shoved bullshit down their throat from Instagram, from YouTube about how to fucking run cycles. Oh yeah, you can just run a little bit of testosterone and some orals and like 10 milligrams of Anavar and 10 milligrams of Rad 140 and blah, blah, blah. And we do these cycles for 10 weeks and then you PCT and you come off and like, that's not bodybuilding. This is not how you build muscle. That's how you blow up on cycle and lose a lot of the size when you come off cycle and make no fucking progress and get a lot of side effects. So we're gonna tell you guys how to do this effectively, okay? Because like if you're watching this video, you're open to learning and you're open to just throwing all this bullshit methodology that you've heard over the years out and just you're now open to learning and you have a growth mindset, so this is good, this is why you're here. So this is the basically the proper PED cycle guide of how to actually run cycles safely, effectively, and having tissue that you build up, muscle tissue, for long term that lasts from cycle to cycle. And again, it's like not a lot of people want to talk about this for whatever reason. This is not information you really hear a lot, so I'm glad to just give my insight of at least what I did and what I'm doing to help other people and what thousands of other bodybuilders in your gym are doing to actually get the size that they have. So we're gonna talk about this. So this is going to be part one. So this is going to be the growth and bulking phase. So basically the phase where it's almost the most important because this is where you're building the actual muscle tissue that's going to show when you cut down, when you diet off the body fat. So this is where the foundation of the physique is built, and this is why this is so important. So I'm gonna take a sip of water here and I'm gonna talk to you guys about the problems that a lot of you guys are facing. Okay. So the problem here is a lot of you guys, and I see this firsthand. I see this firsthand because you guys send me DMs about what you're struggling with, everything like that with your cycles. So I know what's really going on here. So you guys are not making consistent progress or consistent improvements from cycle to cycle. And what happens is you'll run these cycles, and you'll look good when you take the cycle. You get what I call like fake weight. So it's like glycogen, water retention in the muscle, all that stuff, and you look really full, really vascular. You get all the cosmetic effects, and then you come off the cycle, and it just kind of goes away, and you're like, "What the fuck? Like, why did all my muscle go away?" Well, your muscle didn't really go away. All that fake kind of blown up weight just went away. You didn't really gain too much muscle during that cycle. It was just the fake shit. So you're not making consistent improvements cycle to cycle, and you're running your cycles too short. So you don't have enough time in this cycle to build these like long lasting adaptations, the long lasting contractile muscle tissue that sticks with you from when you do your next cycle. So you guys are doing an incorrect combination of compounds. So maybe you're running too many compounds, maybe you're not running enough compounds, maybe you're running the incorrect compounds. I'll go into that in a little bit as well. But it's just not correctly combining these compounds. Also, incorrect dosing of compounds. Some of you guys are taking too like not enough drugs. Some of you guys are taking too much drugs. Some of you guys are taking more of like one drug that shouldn't be dosed higher. So just overall, just not dosing these compounds properly. And a lot of you guys are doing post cycle therapies. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing. Like I said, it's goal dependent here. This is not necessarily a bad thing if you're doing a post cycle therapy. So, what I like to kind of tell people about doing PCTs. Okay, so if you're going to do a cycle and then come off, you better almost have like an event or a time frame that you want to look good for. So let's say you're doing a one-off show or you have a vacation coming up or a wedding or something like that, and you just want to look good for that time frame. Nothing wrong with running a 12, 16-week cycle, whatever, looking really good for that time and then coming off back to natural if you're okay with that. And obviously you can do that with the addition of HCG, Clomid, all that stuff. That's a different topic for a different video. But a lot of you guys want long lasting muscle and you want linear progress with your cycles. But you're doing post cycle therapies, which is kind of just, taking one step back and then two steps, or sorry, one step forward and then two steps back. So a lot of guys are getting side effects too, because again, you're dosing these compounds incorrectly. You don't know how to manage the estrogen side effects or prolactin side effects from the 19-nor drugs, and it could just be a mess. And like I said, you're looking good on the cycle because of the glycogen and the cosmetic effect, and it goes away when you come off. And all in all, you guys just are not getting the proper return on investment for your PEDs. And the return on investment is the muscle mass you're getting. It's the protein tissue muscle mass that you build that's going to last you long term. And if you're not keeping that, you're not maintaining that, then your gear was basically just a waste. So I don't want to see you guys go through this shit because I know a lot of you guys have serious bodybuilding goals and serious aspirations of what you want to do with your physique. So I don't want to see you guys waste your fucking money, time, health doing shit incorrectly, okay? So there's a lot of information. I'm going to take another sip of water and then we're going to go over this over here in a sec. Okay. So let's talk about goal dependent dosing. So you guys hear me talk a lot about, taking relatively high doses. Now, the dosing of your steroids is always going to be goal dependent, okay? So, like I said, there's nothing wrong with taking like a moderate or a low dose or a high dose or a really high dose. It just all depends on what you want to fucking get out of it. So, let's talk first about TRT. So, testosterone replacement therapy, it's literally just this is what's prescribed for individuals with low testosterone from a clinic. It's anywhere from 150 to 300 milligrams, and you can look pretty good. You can take that and look like you're lean. You have some like a little bit of muscle. If you're really really like a rare genetic hyper responder, you can really grow from this. But for the most part, this is not a bodybuilding build a lot of muscle dose. And anybody telling you this is just lying through their fucking teeth. So this is actually the range that I started at when I first took my first cycle ever. And I got underwhelming results. I recompositioned really well. So I stayed at about 160, but I didn't really gain a lot of size. I didn't get that bodybuilder look, that like pop to your physique that, we're all kind of looking for. So that's TRT. Now let's talk about low doses. So now we're getting up a little bit, and I call this kind of like the look good in the beach dose. So this is like just above TRT, and I'm talking about like when I talk about these milligram doses, I'm talking about total weekly milligrams. So that could be combined any steroid you're taking in your cycle over the week in terms of milligrams. So 400 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams. So like again, goal dependent. So if you want to look above average, if you want to gain some muscle, just kind of squeaking into that range where it's like, okay, that guy definitely takes the gym seriously. This is where you kind of want to be at, anywhere from 400 to 1,000 milligrams total. Um, and again, if you're a really, really rare genetic hyper responder, it's not a lot of people. It's really not. But if you are, then you can really get big on this. But for the average person, again, if you want to look like a bodybuilder, if you want serious muscle, this is not where you want to be. Okay. Now let's talk about moderate. So just the average gym goer dosage. So anywhere from 1,000 milligrams to 1,500 milligrams. So this is like, okay, you're really looking like you take the gym seriously now. You have muscle, you're lean, you're jacked, you're strong. And if you go up to like any like average guy or gym that takes gear, this is probably around what they're taking right here. So anywhere from 1,000 milligrams to 1,500 milligrams weekly total of gear. Now, I'm gonna get like a different highlighter here because this is really important. So this is like the bodybuilder dose, okay? This is where the majority of you guys like watching these videos want to be because of your all like just out of average like the goals that you guys tell me, the goals of what you guys want to look like. So this is like, okay, you're pretty motivated, like you're very motivated and you want to look like a fucking bodybuilder. You want to gain some serious fucking muscle. You want to get like you want to build 50 plus pounds on top of what you already weighing. This is where you want to be at. So for the majority of guys watching this, and this is actually the category I'm going to reference for the rest of this video as well. So high moderate bodybuilder dose, 1750 to 2500 milligrams. Now, if you're an extremely motivated bodybuilder, like you want to look like a freak, you want to go for a fucking pro card, you want people to look at you and be like, what the actual fuck am I looking at? This is where you want to be at. So anywhere over 3000 milligrams. Now, this is like serious bodybuilding. Like everything, like keep in mind, none of these doses are going to work if your training and diet is in check. That's just a given. But this is you are going fucking all in. And this is like not, a safe place to be at for long term. But guys are running this high. I've ran this high before, over 3000 milligrams. I didn't feel good on it. I really just, it was probably too much for my body to handle. I like being around this range right here in the high moderate. Um, but again, if you're extremely motivated and you want to go to that extreme, like this is the reality. This is where you have to be at. I don't make the rules. It sucks that a guy has to be like that, but this is how it is. So we went over basically just goal dependent dosing. And keep in mind, this is where I'm going to be referencing, the bodybuilder dose for the majority of this video. So let's keep in mind the goals of our growing phase, the goals of our bulking phase. So we want to be gaining a significant amount of muscle tissue. We want to push our body weight up. We want to use the food we're eating to manipulate our body weight up. And we want our cycle to accomplish this goal, okay? We want to be in a calorie surplus for a prolonged period of time, right? So you hear everybody saying you should never do a bulk less than, 3 months. So why should you take a cycle for less than 3 months? Right. So it's like you're in your bulk for a long period of time, right? So you should take your cycle for that same amount of time. So we want to be in a calorie surplus for a prolonged period of time. And we want our cycle to have optimal nutrient partitioning effects because we want that food to go into the right spot. And we want to be achieving new levels of strength. So we need to achieve progressive overload with the basic compound movements over that course of our cycle, over that 6 to 8 months, because that's what's going to build the dense contractile muscle tissue is getting strong. So again, it's just progressive overload. And again, we want our cycle to be achieving this. So I'm just going to take a sip of water again, and then we're going to go over the non-optimal protocol, what most of you guys are probably doing. Okay. So the non-optimal protocol, less than 12 weeks. So a lot of you guys are doing 12-week cycles. Again, it's not long enough. You're not gonna make long-lasting adaptations. You're gonna blow up, and you're gonna lose it when you come off. So just an example of like a cycle that people might be doing with the goal of looking like a bodybuilder, but they're not really taking high enough dosages. So they're running maybe like 400 milligrams a test, 300 mgs of EQ, 50 mgs of Winstrol for that whole cycle, that whole 12-week cycle. And again, nothing wrong with this if your goal is, to look good and above average, but to get serious fucking size, this is not going to get you there. So you're gonna run that cycle, and then you'll probably do a post-cycle therapy after those 12 weeks. So the reason this isn't optimal is the length of the cycle is too short. So there's not enough time to push your body weight up and use the food to push your body weight up and achieve high levels of strength. Because again, like increasing your bench press from 225 for 10 to 275 for 10 is probably not going to happen in 3 months for most of you guys, especially if you guys are at like an intermediate to advanced level. It's not going to happen that quick. And it needs to happen over that course of the time to build the muscle tissue we want. So again, the doses are not high enough for a bodybuilder. It's the reality things. Bodybuilding it's a drug thing. It's it's whoa, surprise! Like bodybuilding is a fucking drug thing. It's one of the key variables of building the size that we need. So training, food, steroids, three components of the three pillared stool. So the doses are not high enough to look like a bodybuilder, and they need to be increased for that goal. And you're using orals as the base of the cycle instead of as a tool. So I'll go into this in a little bit, but for most of you guys, you're running the oral for the majority of the cycle, and that's really not the optimal approach there. And then you're doing a PCT instead of a cruise. And then when you're doing that PCT, you're not going to be in the hormonal environment to maintain the size that you build during that cycle. So, okay, you're going to take this cycle, okay? And then 12 weeks later, this is the result. So you gain some muscle, right? Obviously, you gain some muscle in that time frame. It's going to happen. It's not going to be a lot, but some contractile muscle tissue is built. You got really full because you're on cycle and you're all your muscles are all drugged out and animated, and your body weight's up a little bit. You can have a lot of time to push it up, but it's definitely going to be up there. Your strength increased a little bit for sure because you're taking Winstrol too. That's a very strong strength builder, and you have good cosmetic effects from the orals. And you go down here, and this guy, he built some size. His biceps got bigger. I did a shitty job at drawing everything else, but yeah, he got pretty jacked. Now, because you took the wrong advice, now you're going to do a PCT. So after 3 to 4 weeks of your PCT, coming off everything, maybe you took some HGG, Clomid, tried to recover your natural levels. This is what's going to happen. So your body is now going to look very, very different. Like at this point, you have lost your fullness in glycogen because you're off the drugs that were causing that. You are not in the hormonal environment to hold on to any of the size that you gained on cycle, and you're going to start to actually lose that muscle. So keep in mind, the muscle you build on steroids, like that needs steroids to be maintained. So if you're not in the hormonal environment, to maintain that muscle that you built with the optimal hormonal environment, the really high uh, hormonal environment, then you're going to lose it. So there's no guarantee that when you do a PCT, you're going to recover your natural levels. There's just never a guarantee. And what tends to happen is what people experience in the first couple of weeks of their PCT, when their hormones are crashing, they get low testosterone. And like I said, it may not recover. Depression, low sex drive, you're demotivated to go to the gym, you feel like fucking garbage. Your strength is going down. You're literally seeing your physique fucking deteriorate before your eyes. And it just demotivates you. And then you get some estrogen side effects too, because your testosterone is lowered, and that balance is just completely off. So you might get acne, you might get gyno, and the end result is, out of all this shit that you just put yourself through, little muscle was gained on cycle, and then you just fucking lost it all when you came off everything. And there's no linear progress cycle to cycle. You're just doing a constant process of gaining and losing. Because you look down here, he fucking lost all of his muscle. Now there's a question mark near his dick because his dick doesn't fucking work. So basically, you're doing all this shit. You're doing a 12-week cycle. You're blowing up, the same 5-10 pounds, and then you do your PCT, and then you're just losing that. And then you go back and you're making no fucking progress. You're making a step back or a step forward and then a step fucking backwards. So you fucking stay the same. There's no linear progress with this approach. So this is the incorrect approach. And we're going to go down here, and now we're going to tell you the optimal protocol. This is the protocol that should be used. This is a protocol that I use, that a lot of other people are doing to get serious fucking results and actually maintain those results over time. Again, take a sip of water because I'm talking my fucking ass off right now. Okay. Optimal protocol. 6 to 8 month cycles. Long cycles, okay? We need time. We need exposure to these anabolics. We need time to build strength. We need time to push food up. We need just like time in general to build these long lasting adaptations. We can't just blow up and fucking lose it when we come off. We need literal contractile muscle tissue on our body, and it takes time to build, okay? Now, we talked about the optimal doses for what a bodybuilder wants and what a bodybuilder should be taking. So 750 to 1,000 mg of testosterone. This is going to depend on your body weight, how much you weigh, how much muscle you have, your experience level, your risk tolerance, how tall you are, all that kind of stuff. I like 750. That's kind of my sweet spot. I have gone over 1,000 before, but typically I like 750. And some of you guys might go more than 1,000. Again, these are just ballparks. These are ballparks. So 750 to 1,000 milligrams, so about the same dosage of either primobolan, equipoise, NPP, or DECA. So the idea here is like these injectables are going to be like the meat and potatoes of your cycle. So you can run these compounds for a long period of time and they're not going to have like really deleterious health effects. Maybe EQ will, but DECA, NPP, Primobolan, especially Primobolan, they're all really good anabolics. They're just working on the back end to build muscle. You're not going to feel like you're on cycle, like you're on trend or fucking Anadrol. And they're you can keep decent blood work on it. You should be getting blood work every 3 to 4 months for sure. But you can stay in a relatively healthy range and run these for a long term, which is exactly what we want here. So instead of using the oral for the entirety of the cycles, we're not running Anadrol for fucking 8 months. We're not running D-ball for 8 months. We're going to use it periodically. And we're going to use it to break past strength plateaus. So, like I said before, the like what's going to build the muscle tissue is getting strong and doing progressive overload. So when we run in the strength plateaus during this cycle, we have control of the variable of gear to literally break past that strength plateau. So we can add in things that work super quick, like Anadrol, Halotestin, Winstrol, D-ball, anywhere from even Superdrol, anywhere from 30 mgs to 100 milligrams, daily, or just specifically on those weak body part days where you're struggling to break past those strength plateaus and then, achieve progressive overload again. So it's a really good tactic. And we're just doing these for like 2 to 4 weeks, just until we bust past that plateau and then we come off because the orals are toxic. They work really well. They're really fun to use, but they're toxic and we can't run them for a long time. So it's 2 to 4 weeks, break past the strength plateau, come off, go back to your anabolics. Okay. And this is also an advanced technique, but you could run low dose trenbolone for 2 to 300 milligrams simply for the nutrient partitioning effect. Because, like I said up here, with the goal of our growing phase, we want optimal nutrient partitioning because we want the food we're eating to actually go to the right place. And trenbolone does a really, really good job at that. And we can run it for, in a bulking phase easily. It works pretty well. We don't want to run it super high because it does just fucking crank up your metabolism a lot. And I find like when guys run it really high when they're bulking, they don't really grow as well. Just a low dose for the nutrient partitioning effect, and it helps with strength too. Like 300 mgs a trend, holy fuck, like you're gonna feel that. So, and then instead of doing a PCT, you're gonna cruise after that cycle. So again, depending on your experience level, how much muscle you're holding, how much drug muscle that you've built, this could be anywhere from 250 milligrams to 500 milligrams of just testosterone. And then we're going to run that after a cycle to basically just reset our health markers, just chill for a little bit because we don't want to be redlining our system 24/7, 365 days out of the year. And, do that for 6 to 8 weeks and then go back and cycle and we're good. But I'll talk about that in a little bit too. Now, we're on this cycle or this protocol 6 to 8 months later. This is the result. You gained actual contractile protein muscle tissue, not just fullness and glycogen. And this protein muscle tissue is going to stick with you. The glycogen, fake weight stuff, that goes away. But the protein tissue stays. Your body weight's up a lot because you ran the cycle for a long time and you had time like in your control, you had time in your favor, and you're able to titrate your food up over time to achieve that higher body weight. And you reach new thresholds of strength because you had more time in the cycle. You had more time to use the drugs to get really fucking strong. So if you started that cycle, benching 315 for one, maybe now you're benching 315 for 10, 8 months later, easily. Same thing for squat. Maybe you were squatting 405 for 3 before, now you're doing it for 12. You can easily do that in fucking 8 months. So keep that in mind. You need time. Now this guy down here, he has bigger biceps than the guy up here because he ran a cycle longer, so he had more time to gain some size. And now he's happy because he gained a good amount of muscle, and he didn't follow bullshit advice. Now, 3 to 4 weeks, you're gonna do your cruise because we have to cruise. We can't blast our face off forever. And the result is, muscle tissue was maintained because now we're in an optimal hormonal environment to maintain the steroid muscle that we built. So yeah, you lost some fullness, like the fake weight stuff. The muscles are basically just in hibernation. So, You might look a little smaller when you cruise. That doesn't mean you're losing muscle. That just means like the animation of the muscle is just kind of going into hibernation. It's going to come back the second you reincorporate the drugs. But right now, while you're cruising, you maintain the protein tissue, but the glycogen fullness stuff kind of goes away a little bit. So now you're in proper hormonal balance. So no crash testosterone. So you're going to maintain good sex drive, good energy levels, good motivation, drive, all that stuff. So maybe before when if you're doing a PCT, you're really demotivated to go back to the gym, and you're like, fuck this. I'm looking at myself. I'm just looking worse and worse, and I feel like fucking garbage. I don't even want to leave my bed. Versus now, it's like you're fine. You're chilling. You're going back to the gym. You're not going to make serious progress during that cruise time, but at least you're going to go in there and with the job of just maintaining, maybe just working on your form, stuff like that. Maybe trying new exercises. But you're not going to feel like shit, and you're still going to be motivated to go to the gym and try to improve in some way. So now you have new strength and new muscle threshold. So now you can build off of that for your next cycle. And this is going to allow you to have linear progress cycle to cycle. So before, we were just building the same 5-10 pounds of muscle and glycogen, then just fucking losing it when we come down to a PCT. Versus now, we built muscle. So we went up, we maintained for a little bit. Now we go into a cycle again, and then we go back up. So now we have linear progress instead of this. We don't want this. We want this. So, believe that's everything here. So, this is a jam-packed video full of tons and tons of value. So, I really hope this helps you guys, and I really hope you guys can start to implement, similar stuff and really just start getting the return on investment for your gear and for your cycles, because we all like, gear is a very, very like taboo topic, and there's a lot of misinformation out there, and it's a sea of fucking bullshit. It's a sea of fucking bullshit. And this is what like people are actually doing. This is what people in your gyms are doing that are, big bodybuilders, if they whether they compete or not, whatever. This is the type of stuff people are doing. And it's, is it the safest thing to do? No. Bodybuilding isn't safe. It's just not safe. But if we can do this in the most safest and effective way possible, then we're actually going to, get the return on investment that we want, and we're not going to be fucking wasting our time and spinning our wheels. So appreciate you guys watching this, and I really hope you guys can start to implement this or think to implement something like this, and or at least just take something away from today and learn. So appreciate you guys watching this.